Hi there. Welcome to the home of graphic literature. I'm your host, Bet, and today we're going to be discussing something pretty interesting, as you can tell. We're talking about Astro Boy, probably the biggest comic character of all time from Japan, next to Goku or Luffy from One Piece. The thing about Astro Boy, right? Of course, started as a comic in 1952. It was called Mighty Atom originally in Japan. Ran until about 1968, and it had a cartoon in 1963. The cartoon aired, I believe, in either June or August in Japan, and then in America, it aired in September on NBC. We only got, I think, about 59 episodes. The original Japanese broadcast was 193, but you know, we still got some of it. It was fully dubbed, plenty of changed names, lots of localization, but it was still the cartoon from Japan. Of course, a couple years later, and by a couple I mean about 30, we did eventually get Astro Boy in English, and these were published by Dark Horse, and you know, they were translated by Frederick Schott, who was a good buddy of Tezuka, and this was um, this was a pretty interesting comic to get in that era, and I'm trying to show you right here what the very first Astro Boy strip looked like, or at least something similar to it. Ambassador Atom is what it was called originally, or Captain Atom. Um, and it had a lot of the same characters, but Astro himself, or Atom in this case, was a very minor robot character that Dr. Tenma created. But that's not the version that we got. Eventually, they did go back and redo the origin, and that's the version that we got on TV. So, what the hell is this? Well, this is a comic by Del Goldkey from 1965, created by somebody. We actually there's next to no information about this thing, which is a shame because it's really 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 rare. Um, this thing is very hard to find, and you'd be lucky to even procure a copy for under $30. Um, that's what I did. I bought this. This is one of my first ever eBay purchases. I won a bid. It was about $30, and probably the only reason it was $30 was because it has all these stains everywhere. The actual contents of the comic, though, are completely untouched, and almost look brand new. It's just the cover that's a little tattered. Let's talk about this cover for a second. This doesn't look like anything that Tezuka made. Just to give you an idea, just looking at this color illustration. Yeah, it's night and day, ain't it? This monster especially is a really ridiculous design and very UPA inspired, which I think is pretty much what most of this is inspired by. What I really find interesting, though, is that this is an actual story. They didn't just make some shit up. Volume 17 of the Astro Boy release by Dark Horse actually serializes this story. It's called Gademu. Let's see, what page is it on? 41. And as you can see, it's not the exact same, but there's the eye patch dude. And then let me actually get to the monster here. My favorite thing, so this is actually a great strip. This is one of the best Astro Boy strips that I've managed to read thus far. And my favorite thing is that the monster is hidden for most of the strip until it finally reveals itself, and that's a really fucking cool looking monster, huh? It's like this creepy robot centipede. Well, unfortunately, they didn't get the memo for Gangor, and he ended up looking like that. Yes, believe it or not, this thing has got him, or Gangor in this case. The comic, however, admittedly, despite looking very strange, you know, it still has the look of a Del Goldkey comic of this era, meaning that the cartooning is pretty good, all things considered. The main problem being that Astro Boy himself really sticks out like a sore thumb, because he's obviously this manga design, this very, or at least the the attempt to recreate a manga design, and then everyone else looks like they belong in like Dick Tracy or Sad Sack, anything from Harvey Comics. Like just they look very out of place. But you know, they tried in some way, shape, or form. And admittedly, it's not the prettiest thing to look at, but it's still comics. Like this, I could still see this having been sold back then. I really like this panel right here. This is a panel that I think really sticks out compared to most of what's here. Like just I feel like you could isolate that and it just looked like a really cool gun panel. Something that definitely pales in comparison is the action. The action of Astro Boy is very easy to read and very fun and fast paced. And that is something that this comic really misses the mark on. Because, you know, the action here is really fucking cool. And easy for your eyes to track. Whereas here, it's, you could tell what he's doing, but it definitely has more of those Golden Age comic sensibilities. Of like, you know, swing the arm, have the impact, maybe a little, you know, maybe a little thing that indicates the impact. It's not the greatest, but, you know, someone definitely was getting just paid to make this thing. I can't say that there was any idea of someone really putting their all into drawing this Astro Boy comic. That was a one-off, by the way. There was no other issues published after this. Though, this wouldn't be the last time that the character would be seen in American comics. There was a 1966 issue of like TV comics or whatever that Goldkey put out that had Astro Boy in it. But I have no clue what that looks like. I don't own that issue. And of course, there was also the 80s Astro Boy series by now, which is terrible. But anyways, yeah, just another showcase of that action. This especially, I think, is not great. Like I see what they were trying to do here, but you know, I saw this same sort of punch in a Golden Age Batman comic just a few days ago, and wasn't effective there. Definitely isn't effective here. They're trying to do something with like Astro's like boosters, but I don't know. It doesn't work the same way that it works in the original comic. I feel the original comic, you know, has some weight to it, and I feel like at that point, especially in 1965, Tezuka had been drawing the comic for quite some time, so he was fully formed. So seeing that distilled by some random dude in America really doesn't work. Though this ain't too bad. The perspective is fucked up because it just looks weird here, but you know, they did something that is fairly similar to what Tezuka could do. I do want to point out that Ochana Mizu looks exactly like Ochana Mizu, which really kind of fucks me up because Ochana Mizu is not a design that you can really pull out of your ass easily. He has a very distinct look. Um, and I totally forgot to mention that, like, earlier on in the comic, we also saw Shinsaku Ban right there, Mr. Mustachio himself. But he doesn't look anything like his Tezuka counterpart, really. But for some reason, Ochana Mizu really does, which is very strange, I think. Focus camera. Hello. There we go. So yeah, that was Genguro. The next story is Attack of the Mud People. I don't know if this one is based off of an actual Astro Boy story or not. I only have I have scattered volumes. I don't have the complete set. So there's a good chance that this is actually based off of another real Astro Boy story, or maybe they just pulled this out of their ass. I don't know. But something I will mention is that the cartooning is I'd say about as the same as the first one, but the I think the cartooning on Astro in this one is especially weaker. Like, just that's supposed to kind of be like a money shot, and it just doesn't really come off as that. It's just especially like the hands. Like, what are you doing with your arms here? It just looks really strange. Got more UPA bad guys. I do like this though. I like these mud monster designs. Those are really cool. They kind of remind me of those things from the early Thor comics. Or the Thor Fantastic Four. I can't remember for sure. But very, sort of, I'm not gonna say Kirby-esque, because it doesn't really look like Kirby design, but, you know. It's something like that. Though it also kind of reminds me of the last issue of Blue Beetle that Stu Ditko did. There's like that rock statue. It kind of reminds me of that too. This is kind of fun, having the stars sort of follow him as he goes along. That's cool. But there you go. There's more of that really stiff action that is just not ideal. Though weirdly enough, this looks like a decent bit like a Tezuka Astro Boy, which I find really funny. More of this really stiff action. I can't really tell what happened here. That is straight up a Golden Age punch. That's something like fucking Batman would be delivering to some random criminal. That's so funny. Wow. Also, the coloring is off for some reason on this whole page. Not sure what's up with that. But yeah, like right here. I have no clue what happened here. It just looks bad. These two, I swear. Like, these two look like they belong in a Dick Tracy cartoon. Especially the Dick Tracy cartoon of this era. Like, they really wouldn't look out of place at all. Which is really funny. That looks pretty bad. This looks good, though. I don't mind that. Astro Boy looks taller than Ochana Mizu in this panel, though. It's a decent perspective panel. It's not terrible. Certainly could be worse. Yeah, like, each time they draw him flying is like, they almost get it right, and then they fuck it up again some way. Very strange. I do want to give the colorist some props here. The colors do fit pretty well, especially since Astro Boy is a black and white comic originally. So the fact that they were the first to try to do a full length Astro Boy comic in color doesn't look too bad. I like everything that they went for here. So I think the Mud Monster probably should have been like more brown than gray, but it's not too bad. I don't think it helps though that the backgrounds are almost non-existent, pretty much. Something that I really want to say about the original comics is that, like, Tezuka, you know, he was always drawing backgrounds. No one was ever fighting in a void, which I can appreciate. There was always something going on. Well, actually, okay, that's kind of a void, but, you know, can't all be winners. But you know, most of this comic here is just voids. There's almost like there's almost no backgrounds in a lot of these panels. Which, I mean, admittedly, it's hard to draw backgrounds, but this is a comic, you know, that is actually being sold on the newsstand. You wanna make it look interesting. This looks pretty bad. It's like there needs to be a panel like right here that's showing like him winding it back and then hitting it. The fact that he just grabs it here and then smacks them is like there's no impact there. This looks alright though. Again, something's sort of missing here. Should have been like another panel where he grabs the arms and then like throws them back. They tried to show that, but it doesn't quite work. Decent crowd shot here, but probably way too many mud people. I'll give them props for this. They didn't make the sky blue in this panel. They made it like an orange, which I think is far more interesting. If you're ever gonna draw a sky, don't make it blue, because if you make the sky blue, it just doesn't look as cool, I'd say. See, they do this a few times where it's just like these weird patterns in the background. I don't really know what they're going for here. Maybe that's supposed to be like, since this is him getting an epiphany, it's like Eureka, and so, you know, the background is all dreamlike, but I don't know. I feel like you could probably make the same effect by putting something over his head. This is good though. I like this right here. This is like, I think, one of the few panels that really does stand out, because it does kind of remind me of something that you would see in the Tezuka comic, even if the people look strange. That doesn't look great. Very off model. And also fairly off model Chanamizu. I like this though. Very heroic, I think. Works for this era of comics, I think. And the final page is pretty boring. You know, they sort of tightened it up a little bit here, where he knocks their heads together and then he grabs them. I don't think you really need another panel in there to make that work, so I'll give him props for that. This is really cool though. Like, I like how like the mud monsters are melting. That actually looks really neat. I'll give him that. I like that. Put as little effort in as possible. Label a building prison, and it's a prison. Then on the very back we have a pinup, which is unfortunately the exact same as the cover. And there you have it. Astro Boy from Del Gold Key. Very strange attempt at trying to make a comic to capture the imagination of all the kids who are watching Astro Boy on TV. I think that it's a really cool historical oddity, but I don't think that you should spend a ridiculous amount of money to try to get your hands on one. I mainly just see it as a really cool oddity. Um, Last thing I do want to mention is that I do like the lettering of this title. The lettering in this whole thing is actually not bad at all. I like the title lettering on a lot of these. They're very Marvel. And actually, I kind of like this logo a little bit more than what we went for with our official releases. But yeah, that is Astro Boy. I think that I'm really glad that we did eventually get the Tezuka comic. And because I couldn't see this being more than just one issue. I think it would get very boring very quickly. Though, admittedly, it does kind of make me wonder, like, gee, what would Pluto look like in this style? What would Uran look like? What would Dr. Tenma look like? Like, there's a lot of these questions in my head. And part of me wishes that this did go on for more than one issue, but it's probably for the better that it stopped here. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this little overview of this very strange oddity of a comic. As always, be sure to like and subscribe and comment. Do you have a copy of this? Would you like to see anything else similar to this? Because I know there was like some Battle of the Planets comics, though Gatchaman didn't start as a manga, still might be just worth taking a look at. And if you have a lead as to what issue of that magazine that would feature Astro Boy about a year later, do let me know. I'll try to track down a copy and we'll talk about that one too. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed your visit, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.